again, I think when you're playing games away from home, it's kind of the opposite of Vancouver, right? Where momentum shifts and they're willing to play a little bit man to man. And again, when they're really willing to do that, I think we just need to do a better job of stretching, right? And threatening their shape. And I don't think that we weren't ball dominant uh, as we'd like with the lead. And I think a big part of that is exploiting the space that the opponents are giving us, and
Can we get rid
that's
of this thing?
having said that,
Just
I
plug it
think we
in.
created
Okay.
two or three
Yeah.
really good chances in the second half, right? Chicho had one, Andres had one off the bar, and then we had a 3v2 with Andres in the middle of the field, and it just didn't come off. So, having said that, I think we put ourselves in position to get that second goal. Um, but I think there's a lot of things that just looking at this game that we just need to tighten up, and I think every game offers an opportunity to learn from, and this is one of them.
Um, you guys were able to use all your subs tonight, and the first one to come in was Fidel for Diego. It seemed like maybe a bit of frustration for Diego at times tonight. But what were you seeing from him, and maybe what are some things that he can improve on from this match?
Yeah, I think again, everyone has tough nights. I think in particular in the first half, I think again when our attacking players are dropping into those pockets, I think what we could do we can continue to improve on is playing quicker. Because when you're pulling out a center back, two things need to happen. Once the center back is out and comes into the midfield, any combination centrally breaks the press, and we need actions ahead of the ball because now we're isolated 1v1 across the back. And so I just think that some games, your touch is on, your technique is good, and some days it's not. And I just think it's just one of those one-off things. And when your first couple decisions don't come off, it's often hard to get back into that rhythm. When your first couple actions in a game come off really good, you start to really exude a lot of confidence. And I just think it's that. But again, the effort that Diego put forth from a defensive standpoint was fantastic.
Yeah, and then kind of on that note, I wanted to finish off with that last goal. Obviously, you never want to concede late in the game. And it was that kind of more of a matter of they were just kind of knocking on the door and the dam broke in that moment. Like one of their chances was going to go because they were just pressuring so much.
Yeah, I think so. You put the ball in dangerous areas enough. And again, I think at times our defensive shape was a bit compromised. I think they did a good job of finding space between our midfield line and our back line. And we'll go back and view that. But I think you're spot on, Caleb, where, I think Zach had a fantastic game. He kept us in the game. He managed crosses, he managed set pieces really, really well. And I think in a lot of ways, if it wasn't for Zach, we wouldn't have got the result. So, I think again, we always want to put pressure on the ball. The problem with that is when you're not getting pressure on the ball, then you're forced to drop and cede space, and then it becomes a vicious cycle, right? And so the few times in the second half where we were able to get pressure on the ball, we won the ball in dangerous areas, and we were able to build counters from it. Um, so again, I think it was the goal that we conceded was just a matter of momentum. And I think Zach did everything he could to keep us in there. But again, I think there's a lot of moments that we'll look at and work on for next week.
Awesome, thank you.
Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, coach, on that goal, I'm earning that reputation as the guy who doesn't talk about the goal or the assist, but the header won by Justin to set it up, I thought was maybe the most important, the kind of the biggest play of that moment. Just what is it about Jay Glad kind of being in that position, winning that header, just going way up and then the way he kind of starts that counter attack, like just what was sort of behind that moment of magic for him, I guess.
Yeah, I think Jay Glad is a very much a front foot defender. And again, if we want to press higher up the field, we got to have center backs that are willing to step high and make plays. And Sean, I think it's great that you noticed that. Oftentimes, the center backs aren't brought into the equation, but unless he makes that play there, then we don't spring an attack and we don't go forward. So I think, he's a huge part of everything we do and the way we want to play. And obviously critical on that goal.
And then just kind of big picture, it's really easy to see this game as a 0.1 being on the road and whatnot. But just because of the way that you guys led for so long, does it feel maybe a little bit like two dropped, or can you still see it as a 0.1 on the road?
Again, I think if you watch enough football, as I'm sure you do, you see, for example, yesterday, it was Chelsea against Man U, right? And they're up 3-2 with 5 minutes left in the game of injury time, and Chelsea come back and score two. So this game, for as much as it is, you're leading for 75-80% of the game. This game affords you no opportunity to take your foot off the gas, and really from a mental perspective, you can't shut off. And so whether, they scored in the 30th minute, 60th minute, 100th minute, it feels safe the closer you are to the end of the game, but it's never safe.
Kyle Ireland, you're next.
Yeah, Pablo, you've had a couple of these late goals this season. How do you take those kind of disappointing finishes, and even though you get a point like you just talked about, how do you take that and like turn it into a learning opportunity where it's like, hey, we didn't get the 3, but we still got the 1, but it's happened multiple times this season to the point where you don't want to see it again. How do you make that a learning opportunity where it kind of becomes a positive learning experience as opposed to a habitual thing?
Again, I think the way we talk about internally is every result is an opportunity to learn from. We don't get too high when we win, because again, within that winning performance, there's obviously moments that as a group we got to get better at, and so it doesn't hide the areas that we need to improve in. And the same when you draw late in the game. I think the important thing for us is and it's so easy to say as a coach, right? Guys, we got to be dialed in here in the last 10 minutes of the game. But these guys are running, 13,000 meters. These guys are, and your muscles use the same energy that your brain uses, right? So when you're fatigued physically, your brain isn't as sharp as it is when you're at full tilt. And so what we'll talk about really is decisions in those areas, right? So when the ball's in the wide areas, can we have a better approach from a Mecca? Can we get better communication from a couple of other guys? And on the weak side, can we get our outside back coming across and dealing with a more dangerous player as opposed to someone that's beyond the goal? So we'll talk about it from a tactical perspective. But at the end of the day, these guys are humans, and when your muscles start to fatigue, your brain unfortunately has to go with it. Hence the reason why so many goals are scored late in the game in football.
And then real quick, just on Chicho's goal, he's just on a hot streak right now. Can you talk about what allows him to be in the right positions at the right times? Because, it's not like you see every, striker in this league have the kind of stretch that he's on right now.
Again, I think that's why great players decide games. They just have an intuition. They have a knack. Obviously, we work on the final third phase, but really as the play's developing and Andres is in the wide area, he knows a cross is coming. And so he's constantly scanning as to what area he wants to attack. And Andres puts in a great ball. So again, like Cucho as well, Chicho, the best strikers in our league have a knack of being at the right place at the right time. And that's what makes them great players.
Carson, you're up.
Hey, Pablo. So Brody and Bodie have been battling for that right back spot all season. What are you and your staff like? What makes that decision on who starts at that right back spot?
Well, again, I think it's all dependent upon previous performance. Obviously, Brody's played there the last few games. Bodie's been comfortable playing there, but he's been playing as our right mid in defense and our wing back in the attack. And so with Andres coming back, just to keep a bit of cohesiveness within the group in that line, I think is important. But again, I think we have a week of training. We'll analyze our opponents and I think the most important thing for us is to make sure that we're honest with our assessment with each individual as to where they stand. I talk to them weekly about what the plan is for the week, given our opponents and given how we finished the previous game. And so there's so many factors that go into that. But I think they've both been great. They both have done a fantastic job. And we want competition in every position in order to raise the standard in every position. And I think we have a team to be able to do that.
Awesome. And you guys recently have been struck by a little bit of an injury bug. Especially with like Eric Holt and Marcelo Silva, what's the plan on handling that?
Well, I think we're looking to bring in another center back. Marcelo's injury is long term. You have to be at least too deep in that position, for competition, but also because, we're going to run into a part of the season where we're going to have a full string game. So definitely looking to bring in another center back and then, bringing up guys from Monarchs to make sure that we have we have guys that can participate as their scouts and see how those guys do as well, and see how they perform in training to see if we have another center back in house. But both those injuries are different. Marcelo slipped on the ball and stretched, and that was almost tearing his hamstring off the bone. And then Holt was stretching for a pass when it was really chilly outside. We've analyzed it with our sports performance staff and our medical staff. And again, I think in the near term, it's finding a player to come in and, shore up that position.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you.
Hey guys, Zac MacMath is here. You okay there,
Yep.
Luis? Caleb, you want to lead us off again?
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure that the ending was not the ideal way that you wanted to finish that game, Zach. But for the most part, you guys almost came away with the clean sheet. What was going well on defense tonight, and then maybe what are some things that you can clean up there?
Yeah, I think it was a difficult match. After taking the lead, we kind of weren't finding the balls that we probably should have to kind of keep the momentum. And then I thought we did a decent job building out and kind of getting behind them. And unfortunately, just weren't finding the right pass or the right shot. And it was leading to a bit of a back and forth match, which kind of just built a lot of pressure. And unfortunately, I don't know how that ball kind of spins in there off of whoever and finds the back of the net. But it was a good game. It's a tough place to come and play, and I think to see a game like that early in the season will hopefully benefit us later in the season.
And then on the defensive front, you guys lost a couple guys to injuries this week at the center back position. From your perspective, I guess what's the depth kind of looking like there? Obviously, the starting back line you guys have right now is doing great, but how important is that maybe come a few months from now to have a little more depth at that position?
Yeah, that's obviously for people above me to figure out, but we trust all the guys that are here, and if we need to slot some guys in because of whatever, we trust that those guys are going to do the job, and we're going to come together to help that person. So we're ready for everything, and it's unfortunate to lose two center backs in a week like that, but it's unfortunately how it goes.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Sean?
Yeah, Zach, I'm not entirely certain how to ask this exactly, because it's about one of your teammates who kind of does things attacking wise as a defender that maybe makes your job or could make your job a little bit awkward. But Justin Glad's header to win that 50-50 ball back and start the attack, for the goal. When you have a center back that plays that high and can do those sorts of things, kind of flip the field, like what does it do for you guys, just sort of mentality wise, or how does it kind of play into the team having a center back who can do what Justin did, I guess, on that play?
Yeah, a lot of credit to both Justin and Brian Vera. We knew kind of that we were going to be left in some 1v1 situations with the way we wanted to press them. And they both did a really good job stepping high into the spaces where it is a bit hairy sometimes. But just kind of being physical, winning your battles. If you don't win the battles, you're making it hard for the offensive player. And I think, really the back line did a great job dealing with a very dangerous attack in Minnesota. And hopefully we'll be better for it going forward.
This is the last one from me, but you kind of touched on this a little bit, but do you see this more as a 0.1 on the road in a tough environment, or more of 2 lost just because of the way it came, the late goal, that kind of a thing?
Definitely points lost, but a good opportunity to learn from and deal with some adversity. But anytime you have a lead late in the game, no matter home or away, you feel like you've lost points.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, Zach, the other day out of practice, we talked about the rhythm that you guys have been in, and you mentioned kind of how, that rocky start to the season, and then you guys really kind of came into your own. With a match like this where it kind of disrupts that rhythm, how do you get back on track, kind of taking what what you guys were at before you went to Minnesota, taking the things that you did, poorly in this match, and then kind of correcting those things?
I don't think we lose momentum with this. I think we are going to continue to play the way we're going to play, home or away, and the results will happen as they happen. And there's, like I said earlier, plenty to learn from this, and all the motivation going into next week against the defending champs, who we know are one of the best teams still in this league, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us to show our stuff.
Kyle, anything else?
No,
Carson?
thanks, Zach.
Go ahead, Carson.
Looking back at that goal, what do you think could have the defense and yourself could have done better? That Minnesota scored. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I haven't watched it back yet. I could be a little bit more aggressive to really try to get in front of the attacker there and get more of a piece of it. But I'll have to watch it back. It's just like I said, I think an unfortunate bounce. I don't know if it hit 2 of us or 3 of us, and then took a weird spin off the grass. And those plays happen, and we just got to do better next time.
Anything else? Anyone? Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.